Since the 60s, Dutch offshore industry has been one of the driving forces behind the Dutch economic wealth. This billion-dollar industry pumps up gas and oil by using giant oil platforms. Today, 150 gas or oil rigs are still scattered within the Dutch exclusive economic zone. They use a variety of platforms. Most common are the semi-submersibles, but in this episode we're gonna build a jacked-up rig. With Europe moving away from gas, the days for these polluting platforms are numbered. In 2023, half of these were already offline. However, with the transition from fossil fuel to renewable energy, the North Sea will still be home to giants. Enormous wind farms are being built along the European coast. All these energy-related projects are adding more stress to the local ecosystem. Bringing up the question, is this a way forward or backwards? What do you guys think? Do you think wind energy is sustainable energy for the future? If you're new here, the next part will be the building part where we will build the oil rig. If you haven't done yet, like and subscribe and welcome to the channel. Hello everyone and welcome to the building part. I found this asset on the workshop which fits great for, well, being changed as an oil rig. Because it is an oil rig, but I think it's quite a dated asset. Here you can see the before and after. And it was just a bit too bright, not industrial enough in the look I wanted it. So I PO'd the hell out of it and I just detailed it differently so I could use it in this episode. I used this metal trusses. They are part of a bridge back. I'm not entirely sure which asset it was, but I had to PO it to make this more like a square shape, but yeah, it works perfect. The original platform is built on top of a concrete stand. I thought about it, but I liked the look of these metal trusses more because it gives more of a, I don't know, industrial, scary look. I always think in Dutch it's boorplatform, or oil rigs look quite scary in a certain way. I don't know. I just think they are, yeah, they got something going on which is something eerie. So it's probably a good idea that we're moving on to more renewable energy than these scary platforms, aside from the environmental impacts, of course. And there were so much more things I could have said about the environmental impact of these machines, but yeah, and gas in general in Holland, it is the main driving force behind Dutch economic wealth. So in 1959, the largest gas bubble in Europe is found in the northern part of the Netherlands, but those are pumped out of the ground, like on land. And when you ever sailed from Holland to England or the UK or Scotland, you always sail at night and you'll see these oil rigs on the ocean, and they look scary, like with the fire coming out of it, and I don't know. What you just saw was a orange asset which I built especially for this episode, because after all those years I expected they would be on the workshop, but no one ever made a lifeboat. So yeah, there it is. I built a lifeboat. I built two assets actually. One you see right here, it's like a prop, and I also made like one hanging in one of them. Yeah, what's it called? Trusses, where you can where they are dropped from, because when they are dropped from oil platforms or ships, it is scary. That's like a free fall. And when I worked I work in the Navy, and when I worked on civilian ships, you get trained in these lifeboats, and every time I got in them, they're really rudimental on the inside, and they are scary. I always thought they were really, really scary, and I always thought you will definitely get a whiplash when you have to evacuate on one of those. So here I'm adding some containers, and I also added like wood and pipes and all kinds of stuff, because I noticed those oil rigs are filled with supplies and extra materials. I think they're probably used when within the drilling process, but I liked it that the large crane, it has the containers right next to them with probably food and garbage, and I reckon that was important. And here you see me adding the lifeboat which is hanging in there. It's called a davits. A davits is where they are hanging ships on. I don't know if it's an international term, I think so. And just adding some ACs and other industrial stuff to make it look more, more like a realistic oil rig. And I am really happy how this is turning out, because it has a real cool vibe to it. And as soon as I finished it, I just put it into the water. I also built a small refinery on the on land, where the pipes from the oil rig are going through, because I guess when you pump oil or gas out of the ground, it has to go somewhere, right? So yeah, it goes to the small oil refinery, and I want to make like also like a harbor where those ships can actually dock and take it with them. So that's a whole different story. But here I'm just adding details and details. I'm just searching around for what can I add, what does it need, and that's most often with these builds. You're just going through Finder and just see what you have and see what you can add. And often it's just not as interesting to put on the video, but this time you saw, I kept it in because it's also part of Cities Skylines, right? And here I'm making the trusses a little bit more darker, because I was trying to go for like this yellow-gray aesthetic. At first I wanted to do a yellow trusses, but it didn't turn out that pretty, so I just kept them dark, and we got plenty of yellow details. And here we go. There's the pipeline. I already laid it down on the C button, and then I just raised land a little bit so the height of the platform is good. Here I add a helicopter platform, and I didn't know this was possible. Moose gave me this tip in his Discord. I'll just raise it till a certain height, and then I'll connect the helicopter paths from land towards the oil rig. I want to make the airport, when I rebuild that one in another episode, I want to make it like a small regional airport with an emphasis on offshore industry. So with lots of helicopters and all that kind of stuff. There's actually an airport in the Netherlands which is focused on only pretty much offshore. It's in Den Helder, it's called De Kooi, and it's also a naval airport, which is also something I want to incorporate in our airport. So here you see me connecting the helicopter paths, and then it's just a little bit of trial and error to make sure the helicopter lands exactly on the helipad. And as you can see, this takes a while, but at some point, here, it's golden, and then I have to, that's perfect. I have to like find the perfect height, and here I'm adding a network terraforming, which removes the ground base, and now the helicopter starts landing on the platform, which adds so much detail, and it's so cool to see. It's a shame there is no real good offshore helicopter on the workshop, so I'm using this Huey Bell model. It's like the ones they used in Vietnam, but it looks good. And here you see the arrival of the platform. I'm so happy how it looks. It is just exactly what I wanted, and it's a shame that the water looks really weird in this game when you look at it at a distance, but it adds so much detail to our island. One thing I didn't mention is that I added another tile. So the 1 tile challenge is now a 2 tile challenge, but I told myself I only can do, for now I can only do like windmill farms and offshore rigs on the 2nd tile. Then I'll just start adding lights, because these things are very bright at night. There's so much little lights on them when you, like I said before, when you sail across the Northern Sea. It's like very well lit because of all these platforms. I'm not sure if I already did it, but there's also like a fire coming out of the big chimney. Oh, here it is. Which is, I think they burn excess gas. Oh, this is not the fire. This is just yellow streetlights, because I thought it looks like it's being maintained pretty well, but those old yellow lights, you always see them on older industrial buildings, right? So I thought I had those. And the lights as well just add a lot of details. I like it. I also tried to add some ploppable cubes, like industry, and then some walkways, in the hope people would use it, but I don't think that's possible. Maybe if you guys have an idea if that is actually possible, let me know. And yeah, that's pretty much what I did this week. I hope you guys enjoy this. And if you haven't done already, please like and subscribe, and yeah, it helps out the channel a lot. For this week, it's a short one, but this was it. I hope to see you guys in the next episode. This was Jass. Bye.